What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back. Today we are taking a look at yet another diorama set from Joy Toy. This time we're taking a look at the Mecha Depot testing area. And you can see this is for the 1/18 scale figure line. Looking at the front of the box, there's a great looking picture of what this is going to look like once we put it all together. And if I flip the box around, you can see what it's going to look like when you actually add some figures to it. And looking right here is the upcoming ATV that's soon to be released. And it also depicts some of the other already released figures. Now, mind you, this does not come with any of these figures or this ATV. On top of the box it says Mecha Depot testing area. The same thing for the bottom of the box, and of course this is upside down. And flipping it back around to the front, I say let's open it up, put it together, and see what it's going to look like. With everything laid out on the table, we'll take a look at what was inside. And I'm absolutely amazed at just how much they can squeeze into these boxes. Let's start with these right here. There's two of these bookcases. These are in a maroon red with a black wash. Nice looking detail, and we've seen these before with other sets. Now these right here are the Lego style clips that come with the set, and this will actually attach the floor pieces and maybe even some of the wall pieces together, and there's 15 of those. Right next to this is the table, and you can see there's two legs and the tabletop, and these are in a silver wash. They look like aluminum, and of course they're only finished on one side. Great looking detail on this. And right here is the chair, and there's a chair back, the chair seat part, and of course the stand, and there's only one of those. Right here we have the pieces for the actual staircase, and those actually attach to the staircase back there. And according to the inventory, you should have 9 of these stair treads. These have a silver wash on them. Again, look like aluminum. And right here is the actual platform for the top of the stairs. Right next to them, there's 3 long guardrails. There's 2 gray guardrails and 1 orangey yellow guardrail. Now coming back over here, there's one of these pieces, and it looks like a top connecting piece or cap. And behind this, there's 2 of these gray guardrails. And you can see they have this yellow and black cautionary tape that's only on one side. Now look at our first set of I-beams or structural beams right here. These are yellow with a black wash. They're absolutely identical. And these are going to be used to actually hold up one of the upper floors. Also included are some smaller guardrails. There's 2 of these orangish yellow guardrails with a black wash. And they're finished on both sides. And right next to those, there's these gray guardrails. And these are gray on both sides, and there's actually 5 of these. Looking at the wall sections now, there's 2 of these really narrow gray wall sections. And these are finished on both sides, and they look absolutely identical on both sides. So there is no front or back. Now looking at the last row of inventory that's included, we'll come back here. And there's 10 of these really narrow I-beams. And these are actually vertical I-beams. Great looking detail on these. And these go vertically and peg into the floor. Now tucked behind these guardrails are 2 more vertical red I-beams. And these are in the same color as the previous ones, with the maroon color with black wash on them. Right behind them are these other I-beams. Now there's 4 of these done up in the same exact color. So there's quite a few I-beams. So there's going to be a lot of assembly in this set. Now for the final pieces, there's some floor pieces right here, the large wall, and of course the staircase. And I'll bring this in nice and close so you can get a look. There's 2 of these gray stairwells. absolutely identical on both sides, so there's no left or right to these. And as I said earlier, here's the risers and the platform for those. And I'm going to get this off camera so it doesn't fall over on camera and knock things over. Coming back to our first floor pieces, there's actually 4 of these, and these are a nice diamond plate with a silver and black wash to them, and of course those are only finished on one side. Now next to those there's 4 more floor pieces. Now these are the same exact size, but if you'll notice, there's actually a left and a right with some cautionary tape on the floor, and there's 2 of each, 2 of these, and 2 of these. Now grab the remaining wall pieces. There's actually 3 of these. And these are the larger wall pieces with the number 3 on one side. See if I can't get this other one out. There it is. And again, it only says the number 3 on one side, and there's nothing on the back side. And I think I'll put these off to the side so they don't fall over. And lastly, there's these small square floor pieces, and there's 6 of these. And these have a really fantastic silver sheen to them, nice wash on them, and great looking detail. And of course they're only finished on one side, and that's the entire inventory included in the box. So it looks like we got some building to do, so let's get to it. There was one final piece that was included, and it's the actual instruction sheet. Wanted to bring that on camera to show you. That's what it's going to look like when we're done. And if you open it up, it has the inventory list on the inside of all the included pieces. And if you flip it around to the back side, there's a very brief description on how to assemble this. And I have to tell you, you really got to pay attention and look closely. These pictures are really tiny and you don't want to miss any steps. Now, I've laid out the first floor on the table. Now the first thing to note is the configuration of this yellow cautionary tape, and that's for the ATV, or the upcoming ATV. On the back side right here, there's 2 blank floor pieces, and on the left, there's 3 of the small floor pieces. Now I find if you flip these over in this direction, right here, this one next to it, and of course the last 2, you flip over the small square ones in this direction. These are uniform, so it doesn't matter what configuration you put those in. And I'm going to grab one of these small Lego style clips. I'm going to show you how these connect together. And you have to put them in these 2 holes right here. You do have to use a little bit of muscle to get them in. And this absolutely has to be 100% straight for these to connect properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and speed up the camera and get the rest of this assembled for you. Okay, and for the last clip, I will say these things are a bit of a pickle to put in. Now, looking at the instruction sheet, they didn't say anything about adding clips to the center section right here, so I opted not to do that. I'm sure we can do that later on if we need to. And let me flip this over so you can get a look. And this is what the first floor looks like. With the first floor out of the way, I laid out the second floor. You can see there's 3 of these small square floor pieces and 1 of these large pieces right here. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up the camera and assemble this as well. And with the final clip put in, and if I flip it around, here you have the second floor. I brought the first floor back in on the bench, and we're going to go ahead and start assembling the walls and the I-beams. For inventory's sake, you're going to need 2 of these larger walls with the number 3 on them, 4 of these type of I-beams, all 10 of these vertical, really narrow I-beams, and these 2 narrow walls. Now, when you're putting this together, just take your time and line up all the holes. what you want to do is take one of these larger walls and I-beams and port them in on either side in this direction. And we're actually going to take this wall, get this out of the way, and line up the 3 holes in the rear of the floor. And like I said, take your time, give it a little wiggle, and work its way in. Do the same for this piece. Grab this I-beam, peg this one in on this side, and there's pegs on the top and bottom of these, so there's no up and down. Again, line up the 3 holes and give it a little wiggle to try to get it into the hole. And these go in nice and snug, and I think that's because of the paint buildup on the pegs. Now this narrow wall goes right here. Next, for these I-beams, these are going to assist with holding up the second floor. Now it took me a second to look at the directions to figure this out, and there's 3 of them in the corner, one here, one next to it in this direction, and one right next to this one, and that creates the corner. You take another I-beam and put it in this peg right here. Again, this is going to start forming the shape of the second floor. Now there's 2 that go in this next set of holes. There's 1 that goes on the end of this run right here. Now this one goes right here. This is where the small narrow wall comes in. That goes into these 2 holes. And again, you got to work it in. There we go. And for the last 2 I-beams, one goes on this side of the wall, and finally this one goes in the corner. And this gives you a great visual of the second floor and how it's going to lay on top here and be supported all the way around. Let's grab the second floor right here, and this is actually going to go in this configuration like this. And what this is going to do is lay on top of all these vertical I-beams, and you're going to have to go around and line up every single one of these pegs and put this whole thing together. So what I'll do is speed up the camera and get this done for you. And here we have the second floor on, and I will admit the corner was a little tricky, and right here you have to line up all 3 of those pegs, but take your time, work from one end all the way around, and you'll get them all lined up. With the first and second floor completed, I raised the camera up and laid out the inventory for the final floor, and of course there's the last large wall, these 2 yellow I-beams, the last 2 red I-beams, this gray finished cap, and the last bit of flooring. Alright, let me grab the actual base and slide it in close so you can get a better look at how I'm going to do this. Now the first thing you want to do is take this finished cap and line it up right here. Again, line up all the peg holes and use a little bit of downward pressure. There we go. Next, you're going to take one of these red I-beams and yellow I-beam, and they're going to go in this configuration like this. And in order to do that, you put the red one in the back like this. Give it a little wiggle. Put the yellow I-beam right here. Same thing. Now you take the wall piece and you peg this into the center right there, and you'll notice there's no peg hole in the I-beam, it just rests in the groove. So you push it in here and you just line up the groove with the I-beam like so. Do the same exact thing on this side. Put this I-beam right here. And the last yellow carrying beam right here. And finally, you grab the last piece of flooring, and according to the instructions, you line up the rear pegs and the rear holes. You start in this corner. You line up the red peg in the corner of the floor, the yellow peg in the center of the floor, in this fashion. Do the same on this side. And I'm trying to support this entire wall while doing this. I don't want to break anything. And it looks like I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this to clip in. Of course, the last piece is going to give you the problem, right? Try this again on camera. Let me turn it to the side a little bit, and maybe we can get a better look at what's going on. Okay, it looks like the red one's in, but the yellow one, there we go. I just didn't have them lined up properly. And here we have the third floor. Now I will admit, guys, that off camera I did have to work on this a little bit. And what I did was give it some downward pressure. I supported the wall and gave it a little tap, and that knocked all the pegs in place. And it was a little hard to do that on camera, reaching across the bench, and that really firmed up that last wall, so it's not so shaky. It does still have a little give to it, so just be careful. Now that the camera's in this position, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of putting on these upper guardrails. And we're going to utilize these two with the yellow cautionary tape. And let me start in the back here and put that one in the center hole. And let me slide this in closer so you can see. And what you want to do is actually push down on the center of the guardrail into the hole like that and give it a good pinch, and everything works out just fine. Now, for the end cap here is one of these small gray guardrails. These just line up in the last two holes right here. Again, pushing down on the base. You don't want to push down on the center of the guardrail to break it. Let me slide this back, and we'll start with the second floor. Let me grab these guardrails, and according to the instructions, this one goes in the rear. Again, pushing down on the peg on both sides until you hear it click. This one, see how flexible these are, guys? You really got to push down on the actual peg. So this one goes right here until you hear it click. And finally, for the last landing right here, there's this guardrail goes on the end. And again, guys, you can put these any way you want. I'm just basing it on the actual instructions and the picture on the box for your reference. For the last three gray guardrails, one goes right here, like this. The second one goes right opposite of it, right here. And these have a nice satisfying click to them when you put them in. And lastly, this guardrail goes on the end. And here we have the second floor with all the guardrails on. Now, I will point out, guys, that you will notice this back wall here is still a little shaky, but there's no fear of this breaking at all. And once it sits on your shelf, nothing's going to happen to it. And it is really secure. Now, let me slide this back, and we'll put in the first floor set of guardrails and wrap this video up. There's these two yellowish orange ones and this large yellowish orange one. And again, you can put these any way you want, but per the instructions, this one goes in the front right here. And the last two go on the side over here. This one goes right here. And last but not least, this one goes in the corner. And with this last guardrail, this completes the construction of the actual testing area. And what I'll do is post a couple of still pictures so you can get a really good view of this. final assembly, we're going to go ahead and put all these accessories together. Now the first thing we got to look at is these two red bookcases, and of course there's no assembly required with these. These are already built and solid, so we'll get these off to the side. Next we're going to take a look at the chair, and you can see the fantastic detail on the chair back and on the chair seat. And these two just port together right here in this long slot, which is really easy. And on the bottom of the chair is the hole for the stand right there, and all you do is you line up the rectangular slot with the peg, and just like that, that's assembled. You take the stand, you line up the hole on the peg and carefully put it in the hole and just give it a little twist, and here we have a fully assembled office chair. Next, we'll grab the table, and taking a closer look at the legs, you'll see it's finished on one side with pegs on one end and not finished on the other side. And if I grab the tabletop, it's finished on the top side and there's corresponding peg holes on the bottom. What you do is you line up the pegs, finish side out, with the holes underneath the table, squeeze it together, and there it's assembled. Let's go ahead and do the other side. And with that, now we have a fully assembled aluminum table, or plastic table that looks like aluminum. Let's get that aside. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the stairwell. And you can see that there's 9 of these stair treads, which are finished on one side and nothing on the underside with peg holes. The actual top landing finished on one side with peg holes on one end. What we'll do is slide these aside and grab the actual stairwell assembly or stringers for you carpenters out there. Notice this is really flexible, so it's really important when you're putting the treads on, you actually support the underside of the peg so you don't snap anything. And what I like to do is take one of these, line it up, and put it on the table to make it easier and so you can see what I'm doing on camera. You line up the peg with the hole like this. You grab the corresponding rail system. Now again, these rails are identical, so there's no left or right. And with that, this actually holds it in the upright position for me. We'll take the landing, and the thing to note is the peg holes right here line up to the only 2 holes on the upper landing. Again, support it from the underside while doing this. Just give it a little squeeze. Support it underneath while you push down on it. And now you can see what it's going to look like. I'll go ahead and speed up the camera one last time and get it assembled. And with this last piece is going to complete the assembly of this testing area and all the construction needed to get this done. And here we have the stairwell leading into the upper floors. With the base back on camera, we're going to bring in the accessories and wrap this video up. We'll put the stairwell right here. Now you have access to the upper level. According to the picture on the box and the instructions, the table gets slid into this center portion. Now, of course, you can put these anywhere you want. There's the office chair. We'll grab the 2 red bookshelf or bookcases. And once again, according to the picture, these go right here. So this thing is completely modular. You can add pieces or take pieces away, and I find it rather odd that they didn't include another stairwell to get to that level, but if you wanted to, you can take the stairs, put it right here, and now you have access to the second floor, with no access to the 3rd floor. I guess that's where your imagination comes in. I wonder if Joy Toy will sell some accessory packs in the future to help fill out all these dioramas. And here we have the fully assembled Mecha Depot testing area. It's a little difficult trying to get this whole thing on camera, so what I'll do is post another still picture so you can see what it looks like all assembled with all its accessories. I went ahead and put this on my shelf next to the other diodes just so you can see what it looks like. And you can see up top, there's a gentleman up top looking down and on the lookout. Next to that is the meeting area that I built. And right next to that is the monitoring area. Feel free to check out those videos if you like. If I keep this up, I'm going to need more shelves. I really love how these all just look really nice together and add light to the Joy Toy figures. And if you're really creative, you don't have to follow the instructions and you can pretty much create anything you want. With all the peg holes and pegs being the same size, you can let your imagination run wild. I just want to take a moment and thank all my subscribers and all you folks out there that take time out of your day to watch my videos. If you really like what you see, go ahead and join the community and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget, help a fellow collector out and share your knowledge.